What's up, you guys? Joe Dobby here, back at it again with another deck profile for you. And yeah, I finally topped with Beelzemon. It was in a 24-man kind of like really sweaty locals. Everyone was really nice, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about like skillfully sweating, as far as a lot of these players are Canadian players that do top regionals and events. Shout out to everyone like Avolt, Jeffrey, who was there and whatnot. But yeah, I placed 4th place with Beelzemon, which is pretty much a big accomplishment for me. I'm pretty happy about it, despite the small kind of like tournament size of 24 players. That said, I'm gonna dive right into it, and then I'm actually gonna go over some of the cards that I think we should be considering or testing for BT10 with Beelzemon. That said, this is kind of like a play it safe, go for what you know build for BT10 that I'd say, or some of the cards that I would choose. But yeah, we'll dive right into it. So eggs first, we've got the 4 copies of Pagumon here and the 1 copy of Xiaomon. Pagumon's really great because on deletion, you just trash the top 2 cards of your deck and you're likely getting value because you run a lot of when trashed from your deck effects here. And a lot of the times you're going to be swinging with that BT2, BT3 Impmon to trash 3 more cards and get a security check. Xiaomon is there. See it early, not a big deal. See it late, even better, because it grants you retaliation on your turn when you have 10 or more cards in trash, and you will have 10 or more cards in trash very, very quickly. That's that. Next, for the Impmons here, we've got 4 copies of the EX2 Impmon. So this Impmon's really good because when trash from the top card of your deck, you trash the top 3 cards of your deck. It doesn't trigger off its own effect, so it doesn't like triple stack like that, but very nice. And on play, you actually search for a Beelzemon or Eye in Mako after revealing the top 4 cards of your deck. What I like about this Impmon more is the DP boost, because it allows you to swing over things and delete other things with the new Beelzemon, well, the latest Beelzemon that we have. So pretty good Impmon there. I like it a lot. Run it at 4. Next, we're running 4 copies of this Impmon right here. Obviously, this is the BT2 one. On deletion, just trash the top 3 cards of your deck. With Pagu, that's trash top 5. Super powerful card. And yeah, really good. Only running 3 copies of this Impmon here just to search back my Demon Lords or Beelzemons or 3 Musketeers. You don't play that Musketeer here, but you can trash a blast mode, pick up a Beelzemon or a Creepymon or whatever you might need, which is pretty cool. I find that you only really need this Impmon. You need 1 in trash and 1 in your hand and you're good to go. So I think 3 is safe. Last but not least, 2 copies of Psychmon here. For Crossheart, I think these Psychmon are going to be bumped up to 3, and I'm going to be playing a lot less Impmon. Maybe dropping this Impmon to 2 and this Impmon to 3, and then keeping everything else and whatnot. But we'll see how it goes. Psychmon just helps prevent the reduction of play costs, so very good into what might be a Crossheart meta. So pretty good, or what will be a Crossheart meta. Next, y'all, for the champions, we're running 4 copies of Wizardmon. So when this card is trashed from your deck, gain a memory. So familiar with Deathslinger, it's the same thing. And when attacking, you may reveal 1 purple card from your hand and add it to the top of your deck. So you can add another Wizardmon to the top of your deck and trigger any when attacking trash effects or a Deathslinger or a Beelzemon or whatever, and then you can actually get that trashed from deck value because of this Wizardmon. This, I think, is a must-have card for Beelzemon. It's just too good to pass up, and it's honestly just a really, really good purple card overall. I would consider having at least a playset for your decks to kind of play around with and explore. Next, we're running 3 copies of Soulmon here. Your turn, once per turn, when a card is trashed from your deck, gain a memory. So pretty good at giving your opponent the least amount of memory possible for your Digivolutions, because there is a lot of trash top card of your deck, etc. when Digivolving, so pretty good effect. Also, 4 cost to play never feels bad to hard play, especially if you have a level 5 ready in your hands. Next, we've got 3 copies of the Devimon blocker, just a 1 cost to Evo blocker. It basically treats Soulmon as kind of like it's basically like a pseudo Soulmon, right? It's Soulmon's 1 cost to Evo over Skullsatamon or Beelzemon, etc. And the Devimon is basically 1 cost to Evo, but a blocker. So pretty good card, like it a lot. Might actually bump it up to 4 and run Soulmon at 2 for Crossheart. Next, we've got 1 copy of Lowimon here, just for the hybrid, because you do play 3 Iron Mako, so pretty good. Next, we've got 4 copies of Skullsatamon. This card has actually felt good, good enough, but it hasn't felt like the best level 5 for a Beelzemon deck. It felt like the best that we had currently. So with the introduction of Balmon, I think Balmon will be a great replacement for Skullsatamon at a full 4 of. It does have a really good when Digivolving effect. So Skullsatamon, you can trash the top 2 cards of your deck and return a Demon Lord. If you Digivolve over this early, you might be forced to pick up Blast modes, forced to pick up Beelzemon Chaos modes without anything else in your trash. And that kind of sucks because they're already in trash. But, you know, it's not that big a deal. You can probably trash those cards another way. You can utilize Wizardmon to do the same thing if they end up in your hands, so not too big a deal. Same effect as Soulmon from your Inheritables, which means that, like, if you Digivolve Skullsatamon into a Beelzemon with a Soulmon underneath, you're basically Digivolving that 3 cost Beelzemon for 1, which is kind of nice. But yeah, pretty good card. Next, we're running 2 copies of Rebellimon. I'm probably going to keep these 2 copies because of the meta state that might be jumping into for BT10. We're looking at, you know, the potential sticking of Grandis, Malga X. We're also looking at Crossheart, which will be swinging at you, and they have to swing at you when they get rush, on play, etc. And then that Rebelli could potentially stop them from hard casting that Shoutmon instead of utilizing it for when it can rush on play. You know, just so they don't fear for that Shoutmon being deleted. So I do like Rebelli in the deck. 1 copy of Soulmon Chaos, Beelzemon Chaos Mode. Very good card. It's a tamer and level 6 Digimon deleter when digivolving or on play, which is why it's there. If your opponent has a lot of their Digimon saved up, or maybe even 2-3 Digimon with the save effects underneath a single tamer, they'll probably not do that, but, well, actually they might over that red tamer. I haven't fully read the cards yet, but if you can delete that 1 tamer, you're deleting all their materials, which is kind of nice. Or you can just straight up play this and delete they're basically the Digimon they have on the board, and then turbo up into another Beels, which is kind of nice. So 1 there. Next, I ran 4 copies of the Beelzemon. This is like the best Beelzemon that we have currently. On play and when digivolving, you can trash the top 2 cards of your deck, and then delete a level 3 Digimon. Then delete a level 3 Digimon or lower. And then for every 10 cards you have in trash, you add 1 level to that. So at 20 cards in trash, you're deleting a level 5, which is really good. And late game, at 30 cards, you're deleting a level 6 off your single attack. By then, though, you've probably gotten into blast mode or won the game. So rare doesn't usually happen, but it's pretty easy to trigger both when digivolving and when attacking, because you're keeping turn with Skullsata and Soulmon. That said, Beelzemon's cool effect as well is when trashed from the top of your deck, you can actually play an Impmon from trash without paying its cost. That's a really cool effect. Gotta run it at 4. Just really good. Conservatively only running 2 copies of Beelzemon Blast Mode. So when this card is trashed from the top card of your deck, you can delete a level 4 lower Digimon, and when digivolving, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. So this deck absolutely gets destroyed by D-Reaper. Luckily I didn't face D-Reaper, but unless you can rush them down, obviously, and they don't have any gatekeepers. There's a lot of factors involved into winning the matchup against D-Reaper, but generally you're in a rough spot because all deletion here is by level based. But yeah, pretty good effect anyways. And during your turn, for every 10 cards you have in your trash, this Digimon gains Sec +1. and it's very, very easy to get to like 10 cards. So you're swinging for 2 checks fairly quickly if you see your pieces fast enough. Next, we're running 1 copy of Avenged Kidmon. Just prevents the deck out. Very easy effect. On play, basically you take all of you and your opponent's option cards and place them at the bottom of your decks, your respective decks. You choose the order of your opponent's option cards. So against Setcon, that's kind of cool because then you can put all their like useless stuff at the top, and then that buys you time to kind of just get to game. And then you can delete a Digimon with a 8k DP or less if you've returned 7 or more, and you reduce the play cost by 1 for each option basically returned to the bottom of the deck. So Avenged Kidmon's really good to prevent deck out and to delete something, but also because it's another body that you can bring out, especially when it's a pretty close game and it's hard to get any bodies on the field. Creepymon's super cool card. When Digivolving, trash the top 2 cards of your deck for each Digimon your opponent has, and then if you've trashed 4 or more this way, you basically just play a level 5, and that's where Beelzemon Chaos Mode comes in. You can just play Digivolve into this guy, play this guy, and then delete a bunch of things. And then when attacking once per turn, you actually trash the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck for every 10 cards you have in trash. So very easy to get your opponent to trash like 3, 6, even 9 cards per swing at times, and you're gonna be plus 3k DP for every 10 cards in trash. So a very powerful card. It's a challenge a little bit to set it up because it's only 1 copy, but at the same time I think it's very valid, especially against certain matchups like security control. It just puts in a lot of work because then you can kind of bring out bodies and stuff, delete tamers, preventing them from gaining advantage through chaos mode, and then you kind of just keep decking out or trashing out their options, assuming they don't have any removal, but they likely will. Last of the Digimon, we're running 1 copy of Junomon. Retaliation, when Digivolving, trash top 3 cards of your deck. And then you can return a Digimon, basically any Digimon, which is nice for Avenged Kid because it's red, from trash to hand, so pretty cool. Next up, y'all, we got 3 copies of Ai and Maiko. So Memory Setter, and when attacking with a purple Digimon, you can suspend this tamer to trash the top card of your deck. If you swung with a Beelzemon, it may Digivolve for to a blast mode from trash for 3 memory, which is super powerful. Love it. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. There you go. Next, running 1 copy of Darkness Wave. Sometimes you brick, and it is what it is. So if you see Darkness Wave in your opening hand, it's a nice card to play, because then you cycle through your deck. You get to see what 3 cards you've trashed as a result of playing this effect, and you can choke your opponent to 1, which is kind of nice. 2 copies of Calling from Darkness. Once again, it combos quite well with the Darkness Wave because, you know, if you're bricking, you can Darkness Wave, trash top 3. If you happen to have Call from Darkness from your hand as well, you can return 2 Digimon most likely from trash, and then you can basically go about your turn. Once these Digimon are in trash, apart from some of your Impmon, from Beelzemon, from Lucemon, they've basically all served their purpose, so having them in your hands is the better way to go after that. And last but not least, 4 copies of Deathslinger. So Deathslinger is super cool, guys. When this card's trashed from the top card of your deck, you actually gain a memory. So same effect as the Wizardmon here, and its main effect actually is you can delete a level 4 lower Digimon with the, for 4, and then for every 10 cards in your trash, you can actually increase that by 1 level. So I've deleted a level 7 late game for 4 memory, and that's always felt good. And from security, you actually activate its main effect, so you will definitely be able to delete some big boys from security if they're like building up to their turn, they're not swinging, they're playing tamers like in Crossheart or what have you, and then you're pretty much good to go. So I'm gonna go briefly touch on matchups, and then after that we're gonna talk about some of the cards that I want to incorporate in this deck for anticipation of BT10. So matchups were pretty simple. I faced 2 Gallantmon decks. The first game was a 2-0. I got my Impmons. I was milling like the best things. I was high rolling like crazy. So the 2-0 was pretty much expected. The second Gallantmon game, he got into his Gallantmon super quickly game 1 and was just deleting anything I put on the board. And then game 2 and 3, I managed to take through my turn. I was kind of like deleting what he had on the board, and he kind of bricked a bit, having to play like a black war growl, a war growlmon one time for basically the full 8 cost. So that was kind of rough on them, and we got the win there. Game 3 was actually what was game 3? Armor Rush. We did really good against Armor Rush, surprisingly. Basically, Deathslinger is your friend here. The Beelzemon is your friend here because when attacking, you can delete level 4s, and Armor Rush is basically level 4s apart from Magnamon X. So you can kind of swing, force them to Armor Purge off the when attacking effect, and then swing over the rookie to wipe board. Or if you have a Magnamon X on the board, you can just play Deathslinger, deleting it, and then swinging over that Digimon, triggering Beelzemon's when attacking effect. Basically, it's like a sure-on deletion if you've got enough cards in trash, so very, very good. And yeah, it was a super close game. I was getting rushed out, but the blockers came in absolutely handy. Both Rebellimon and the blocker Devi came in clutch because yeah, at one point they just ran out of resources, couldn't swing anymore, had to hard play things because I just kept deleting and protecting myself with blockers, so that's really good. Next we actually faced Black War Greymon, Gaiomon. That was a hard matchup. We actually lost that game because once they get into Gaiomon, if you can't delete it immediately with Deathslinger, you're in trouble. And it was hard to digivolve into Blast mode without Iron Mako. So if you have the Iron Mako early, they get into that Black War Grey, and then they delete the Iron Mako, which is kind of tough. And then you have to raw play the Blast mode. And if they can counter by going up into Gaiomon very quickly, it is quite possible that they can get to 16k DP and just delete it. Some of them could even pierce, I believe, which is kind of nuts, but yeah. And last but not least, we faced Metal Garurumon X. That was a good matchup, honestly. I didn't think I was in trouble at any point. Deathslingers were great. Took it 2-1. Not 2-0, 2-1 though. You know, if Melga X has the nuts, they have the nuts, and they just keep swinging. And if they're never punished, they're never punished. That said, though, like the Impmons were super clutch there, and this Beelzemon coming out of the trashing from my deck was insane because I was basically able to rookie rush Melga X out and have enough cards in my trash to just hold on to Deathslinger until they got into Melga X, and that was pretty much how I won the game there. So some of the changes I'm gonna make actually is I'm gonna cut these 4 Skull Satamon and instead play Balmon. So Balmon for BT10 is much better in my opinion. When attacking, you may trash up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. On deletion, if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, you may play a Beelzemon from your trash without paying its memory cost. So I think that's a really, really good effect. Much better than the Skull Sata. I don't really need the inheritable if I'm just able to play Beelzemon for free. In addition to that, I want to run the new Crossheart Beelzemon for BT10. On play and when digivolving, you can actually trash 3 cards from the top of your deck. Then for every 10 cards in your trash, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So you can actually delete multiple level 4 or lower Digimon for every 10 cards in your trash, which is kind of cool. I would probably only run this at 2 copies though. End of attack inheritable, gain a memory for every 10 cards in your trash. So it's good for the blast mode kind of win condition as well, because it's an inheritable and it can go underneath your blast mode, or your blast mode can digivolve over it basically. That said, I would probably only keep it at 2 to 3 copies, maybe just 2 copies. I'm still preferring this, because if the Balmon gets deleted and you play out this Beelzemon still has a really good when attacking effect, and it could still turbo up in a blast mode just the same. So I do like this effect a little bit better, so I might play this more than the new Beels. Interestingly enough, I'm thinking of actually cutting both Creepy and Juno for 2 copies of Minervamon. You guys are probably like, Minervamon, why would you play that in this deck? Hear me out. So Minervamon has retaliation. So against Grandis, you can keep this kind of like tower up, and they're less likely to swing over it. They have to like ground fang it or do something else to delete it. And during your opponent's turn, you can, whenever your opponent plays a Digimon, like in Crossheart, if you turbo fast enough, you can actually play one purple level 4 lower Digimon card from your trash, which means you can play so many targets. You can play this Impmon that trashes 3. You can play Psychmon. You can play your blockers. You can play out any level 4, really, which will allow you to turbo into Balmon, which is really nice. And you don't really need to play any most of these guys are on deletion effects, so or when attacking effects, so you don't really care about the fact that you can't trigger any on plays. But on deletion, guys, you can actually play a level 5 or lower purple Digimon or one Mervamon from your trash without paying its cost, if your opponent has 2 or less Digimon. So what I like about this Minervamon in this deck is you can delete Minervamon after, you know, she's served her purpose, play Lucemon Chaos mode, and then turbo up into Beelzemon, and then that sets up your blast mode, right? Or you can, and deletes a Tamer because of Lucemon, or deletes a level 6, what have you, you decide. So really good effect. I prefer this over Creepymon, and you might actually be able to cut Avenge Kid, Juno, and Creepy here, and play 2 Minervamon, and maybe like 1 Deathclaw or whatever. I think Deathclaw would be a really good card to run against Crossheart, because they tend to go into Shoutmon, the level 4 one, and then just get value off that. So I think Mervamon has some place in this deck. You just gotta try it out. Running the BT2 Beelzemon because Minervamon once again can play a bunch of things from trash if your opponent plays a Digimon. So you can bring out like your Impmons and turbo potentially into that secret Beelzemon. So maybe 1 or 2 copies of that could be good as well. And then lastly, Death the Cannon, which is the new option card in BT10 for Beelzemon specifically. When this card is trashed from your deck, return it to your hand, and then for 8 cost, you can delete one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon. If your trash has 10 or more cards, add 1 maximum level. So I don't know about this card. I just put it there because why not? It's nice because it activates its security effect, but 8 cost is a lot, and you can kind of turbo up into your 10 cards in trash very quickly, triggering Deathslinger all the same. So I don't know how much better Death the Cannon will be versus Deathslinger. Personally, I think Deathslinger is just way better, but we'll have to find out. But yeah, that's it for the profile slash what I would do with this deck in BT10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Effectively interested to see how BT10 pans out for Beelzemon. I might actually play significantly less rookies and just focus on these 4 Impmon if I'm going to be running the Balmon engine anyway. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and have a good night. Bye.